Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week I'm honored to be joined by Salma Sakhnini, who is the CEO of Icon Group. She has over 25 years experience, including serving as Regional Vice President with Citibank for 12 years and Chief Operating Officer with Rasmala Investments. Icon is a leading advisor in business, working on corporate solutions such as advisory and M&A to management consultancy, organizational assessments, executive coaching, executive development, and many more things. On this episode, we will talk about an overview to Icon Group, its many offerings, how it's structured, the current state of M&A in the region, and also focus on career development advice because I know it's quite topical at the moment. Salma, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming on Dubai Works. It's nice to meet you.
Pleasure. Very nice meeting you. Thanks for having me.
So where are you currently located? Are you working from home?
Currently still working from home, located in Dubai.
Great.
We're in the office, but it's I guess part of the new norm. Most of the team still is more comfortable working from home. A lot of our clients as well are very comfortable with Zoom and telesessions, so it's working well.
Great, excellent. So has the coronavirus and the global pandemic disrupted how you work with your clients, or how have you adapted to the last few months?
Oh, big time. I think it took all of us by surprise. Part of our work is we do a lot of scenario planning and, planning in general, trying to forecast with organizations what might happen and how to mitigate risk and so on. But I don't see anybody saw something this big coming or had planned for it. So definitely, we went into lockdown like everybody else. And, the first few weeks of the lockdown, it was just a matter of making sure that the team is set up, we have the technology sorted out, and we're all getting acquainted with all of the tools, the Zoom, the Teams, you name it, so we can keep the communication going, and just making sure that people are home, safe, they've got what they need in terms of, tools and infrastructure set up to be able to actually move on. I mean, in a nice way, and it's a blessing that we were digitally enabled with a lot of our services, so it was a smoother transition for us. But again, still it took a lot of mindset change because the team is not together. It took a different way of communicating, and we needed to communicate with each other much more frequently than before, and much more with our clients as well.
Interesting. So can you give an overview? I know I introduced it at the start, but how do you position Icon Group? Is it a consultancy? Is it more than that? And what are the kind of core industries that you specialize in?
So we started Icon like a decade ago, and we started it right in the middle of an economic downturn in 2009, 2010. So because we saw an opportunity to help serve organizations on their strategy in restructuring, in making sure that we reduce the curve of downturn and help them grow quicker. So at our core, we're a strategy boutique. We do mergers and acquisitions and restructuring. We started off as a strategy boutique, but because we have an opportunistic kind of business model, so we built it around and we grew it around the client needs. So pretty quickly, we started adding services as our clients required it. So what differentiates us is we came to strategy and advisory and to this whole business from a pure practitioner point of view. So all of the partners, including myself, are people who have been in corporates. Like I came from New York with Citi 25 years ago, and I started at the very bottom of the corporate ladder at Citibank and worked my way up. So did the other partners in their different industries. So we've actually people who have worked, who have practiced, and who also have consulting backgrounds. So we thought, what our angle and our differentiator is that we bring real solutions and practical solutions, not theories and so on, and in a way that actually reduces the time of employment and deployment to the client, to make sure that we do it effectively in the least cost and the least time, so they can turn around their business pretty quickly.
Interesting. Can you talk us through some of the key milestones over the last decade? What are you kind of the proud moments for Icon as a group? Is it about your own business growth? Is it some of the M&A that you worked on, or is it some of the success stories that you've seen clients kind of turn around?
Oh, it's
Many.
It's actually it brings a smile to my face, because it's amazing to be in this position of privilege, and it's a true privilege to be alongside with clients, to see them in their journey of success. So it's a mixed bag, because we do advisory and consulting, and in that we've helped different clients from banks around the region to different ministries deploy their plans for the country at country levels, for ministry, and for big banks and smaller conglomerates. So once you help the team achieve it quicker, and get witness that they get the recognition from the shareholders, from the board, and so on, it just gives us so much pride, because we are the success enabler for their direction and their vision. And we became by default called the success strategists, because our clients call us that. They see us as people who come in, who have a vested interest in their success, their own personal success when it comes to their careers and lives, and to the lives of their businesses and organizations. So many proud moments when we've seen some of the businesses that we've worked with turn around, to some family businesses where there was this disconnect between the founder generation and the generation who wants to modernize the businesses, and a lot of family businesses in this region who are at the cusp of doing that, to be able to negotiate, if you would like, the modernization of the business to growth. And at a personal level, we were asked as well, from a business point of view, to introduce coaching, executive coaching and training, and leadership development for our clients. So we ended up in our journey buying a franchise and getting it from the US, which was a major investment for us. And to be honest, when I went to my board to justify the business case to buying this franchise, I wasn't very sure. It was demanded, but I looked around the region and I saw that there's a zillion people calling themselves executive coaches and leadership development professionals and so on. So when we went that route, I wanted to make sure that we get a return on investment, and we do something that is different and of added value. So a proud moment when we were able to turn it around. And last year itself, we got awarded as the business leadership training development for the whole MENA region as a business. So yeah, it's great. And I think the cherry on the top is always when we're coaching executives and they get to transform their career or their lives and the lives of their families. And when you see somebody do such massive change and transformation in their journey, it's and you're a witness to that journey, it's just such a privilege.
In terms of split and business that you work on, how much would you say of your company's time is spent on M&A, how much on digital transformation or business transformation, and how much on coaching? Are they equal shares in terms of your business?
To be honest, it depends on the time, right? So and it depends on what's happening around us. M&A was quieter in 2019, 2018. Now it's more active, so it's getting more traction because of the circumstances of what's going on. I think the appetite for M&A right now is bigger because people see opportunities of merging with each other, collaborating, and so forth. Executive coaching, if you tell me in March and April, that took a lot of our time because people were stranded at home under lockdown, uncertain of where to take their business and what to do with their lives on personal level and in businesses. So we ended up, investing a lot of time in that. So it really is completely dependent on what's happening around us. But if I were to forecast, we have different teams that are dedicated for the coaching and the training and the M&A and consulting. So they take equivalent times, I would say, in a stable situation. But there are ebbs and flows, and we're fortunate not to have only coaching or only consulting and so on. They complement each other, and
true.
find that when something drops, the other part of the business holds it up.
So just a question on M&A, because I read some reports, one quote from a VC firm that said that they were going into hibernation and they're waiting to see. Yet on Smashi we cover a lot of the investments in the region and all the kind of fundraising and all the mergers, and it seems to be so active at the moment. Do you think that, I think you explained why it might be active, but that's almost counterintuitive because it's harder when the economy isn't doing well. It tends to be less liquidity in the market. It tends to be harder to raise funds. It also tends to be harder to receive higher valuations because EBITDAs aren't as high. So why do you think that? I can understand why the will would be there and the time would be there to kind of see what fits and the value might be there, but actually the deal making, why do you think it's been particularly active this year?
I think, Rich, it's all a mindset and who you're talking to. The mindset of people is completely different. You see, we talk to a lot of clients and potential clients who are saying, we want to sit in cash. We don't want to do anything. We want to wait it out. I just want to reduce my costs, do damage control and wait it out and kind of see what's happening. There are other people who are looking at this and seeing opportunities, saying, you know what, this is a game changer. There's nothing like going back to the old normal that we knew before. This is something completely different. So I better be prepared. So they are investing. So rather than holding off to their money, they're saying, all right, I am in, let's say, this kind of industry and business line, but I see growth in technology, in communication. That's where the trends are. I want to acquire those. And a lot of the appetite is going to firms or to companies where there's in that supply chain. So people want to have a little bit more control on their suppliers because remember, in the lockdown, we were, everything stopped. So companies that were buying goods and were relying on a supply chain from elsewhere now are thinking differently. They don't want the disruption in their business. They want to say, okay, how can I acquire, if not all of it, at least a majority stake in a supply chain where I can, be in control of their decision making and actually secure my business. So a lot of different reasons why people are looking at investments, but like you said, different people are looking at it differently. Some people are, it's on, let's wait and see. Some people are more aggressive and they have the appetite. And as Warren Buffett says, which I love, it's like when you see fear in their eyes, that's when he buys.
Yeah.
And I think there's ample opportunity now, because we really, in this crisis, if we learned anything, I think we really have to be intentional about creating the future. We really have to be intentional about designing it. And the only way to do that is actually for people to be brave enough to go out and, design it and do something different.
Yeah, I think the quote as well is be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And of course, he recently he sold off all his airline and then he made an investment, I think in insurance or something recently. But we saw, the Public Investment Fund in Saudi Arabia invest a lot on low valued international cross-sector stocks. We've seen governments change some of their ministry departments and do some of these things during this time. I think on one level it's amazing to see these big things happening all from home, because pretty much everyone has been at home during these planning phases. Has that surprised you? Has the kind of ability to do deals and not just chat but to actually transact and to change and to act remotely, has that surprised you with how people have pulled it off, or have you been seeing that over time?
Actually, that has surprised me because we've and people realize that adapting to that very quickly was there was no option but to do that, because what is the option? Not to communicate and not to be on Zoom, and to be completely out of the game. So I think it pushed us in the right direction with an urgency to it. Remember, I think, if I think about North America, they've been doing remote work and flexible work, way earlier than we have. But, here you struggle sometimes with the mentality of the punch in and punch out. I have to see you come to the office. That's how I know, or I think that you're productive. You have to put in the time. And I think very quickly people are realizing productivity is not measured that way, nor could it be done this way. But it took me by surprise. It's a very pleasant surprise to have, especially in the M&A side, because that's a lot of relationships, and that's a lot of trust building, and there's a lot of secrecy between, you're going into somebody's business, and that's like you're going into somebody's homes and lives. But I think this works as long as you have the relationships sorted out, and as long as you have the legacy and you have the track record already done with these clients. But I don't know how long this remote work will take us when it comes to striking new deals, deals with new clients who you haven't been in touch with before, you haven't had that deep relation with them before. I'm skeptical of that working remotely and online, but let's see. Maybe that also will it gets pulled off. But it's working well for the people that we know, and we've been serving and helping for new business, for new clients. I think that's yet to be tested.
Interesting. Just going back to the kind of risk appetite and people seeing opportunity, kind of two questions around it. Do you think that it's actually a right strategy to hibernate and press pause, or would it, would that kind of decrease your revenue further? Would it risk the opportunity to turn your business back on? And secondly, for this region, you mentioned New York and other market cities that are very established, so it's easier to believe that they'll come back. Those markets are established and they've been around for a while, and the Middle East is an emerging market that hasn't emerged. So, are people betting that not only will businesses kind of come out of the coronavirus, but also that this market will emerge? So is it kind of double risk?
It truly is. I think what's critical for us to grasp is this is not like any other downturn, economic downturn that we knew. This is not the 2008, 2009 downturn where, we had classic solutions to the downturn. Cost cutting. I mean, cost cutting is very important, right? And that's what everybody did. Making sure that when revenue stops overnight, you have to cut your costs, you have to practice damage control as a company and as an individual, right? Because you're not sure what tomorrow is going to bring. So you want to stretch your dollar as long as you can, as a business and as an individual. However, to hibernate and absolutely just play ostrich and wait and see till what happens, I don't think that we have the luxury to do that, okay? Because time is not with us, time is against us. The winners of this are going to be the people who are able to get out of this, not only adapt, because it took, people take different times in terms of like going through denial and then accepting the new reality and then dealing with it. So people are it, but how are you going to adopt and adapt to the new reality, and what are you going to do about it? If you hibernate, you're going to kill your business because, you don't have the luxury of time to do that, in my opinion. In my opinion, the winners of this are going to be people who are going to be thinking about pivoting. How are they going to change their businesses? What are the trends? Everybody talks about this new normal, and I tell them, we don't know what this new normal is. If the new normal is a person, is he going to be somebody who's in his 80s? Is he dressed up in a suit? Is he a kid that is hip in jeans? What is this new normal all about? Because we're all going to play a role in designing this new normal, and we already know technology is going to play a big role in it. We already know from our habits and our new acquired behaviors the indications. Like during the lockdown, we didn't want to touch money, and I think that will stay with us for a long time, right? So credit cards, online purchases, and so on. So a boost, I think that will stay with us. This kind of communication will stay with us for the future. So if you're not digitally enabled, you better get onto the bandwagon, right?
Yeah.
If you are used to traditional way of doing business, this is not going to be any longer the case. So there are definite indications of where the future is going, and if you don't hop on the bandwagon quickly enough, you're going to miss the boat.
Interesting. But of course, that you allude to digital transformation, and that costs money, and it suits people who are funded and people who are starting from scratch in terms of digital first. It's harder to turn around an existing business. And I'm sure you have many clients like that who are looking at what to invest in, and that you've been working on that before the global pandemic. But
yeah.
With the global pandemic, and we alluded to kind of the double whammy, many of the economies in the region here were growing slightly, a couple of percent this year. And now, the IMF are saying 8 to 10%. That's significant. So that means, loosely speaking, that there's 8 to 10% less cash in the market. There's less transactions. There's less value of your incumbent business. So not only do you have to change your business to, as you said, keep up with the trends, you also have to do it with less money. So, is there an argument for saying that, maybe I shouldn't stand still, but maybe I should just tighten my belt in a recession, focus on what I'm really good at, and kind of gradually, organically shift it, rather than taking bets because that might be hard to pull off?
Absolutely. I think, and a lot of people are going to end up doing that. Remember, people, everybody's been hit. But some people like SMEs, small and medium businesses, have been hit much harder than anybody else. And the absence of a support infrastructure here in the region for them, I think unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of them disappear, right? that's why I'm a big believer in the mergers and acquisitions. I think collaboration is the name of the game, because a lot of entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, are the backbone of any economy. Eventually, and the emerging economy. But how do you survive to become that, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs start their own businesses and they're doing well. We have to put our egos aside, and we have to say, what is this next phase gonna do for me? I want my business to survive. Is it better that I go it alone and I just wait it out and just tighten the belt, as you said? Or are there opportunities here for me to collaborate with others, where we put our heads together, forces together, and that gives us more resources to go into the future? I think that collaboration should be the name of the game, especially for SMEs going forward, or being acquired by bigger companies, because the whole idea is, how do you offer your services and how do you impact and make value? And some of these services might no longer be relevant. So we have to be flexible about our operating model and seeing if there needs to be a change in what I offer. Okay, I need, as an entrepreneur, to think about it and say, you know what, let me put my resources, and that is not only money, that's my time and my effort, into changing and seeing if I can offer a different service.
What sort of collaborations do you think are conducive to a kind of economic recovery at the moment? For example, sometimes mergers or collaborations might be for cost cutting, and they might consolidate and reduce staff. So, you might want your team to be part of that. And then on the second side, you mentioned earlier about the kind of investments to own the kind of end-to-end solution or the supply chain. Is how do I kind of stay in control of the end-to-end in terms of supply chain, and also have the right mindset to collaborate with another to kind of make more efficiencies, but also grow together?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Let's take edutech, right? For instance, I mean, we're locked down. All the students had to remotely learn, and I think remote learning will be with us, or at least a hybrid kind of approach. Of course, we miss out a lot from not being on campus, but I think that there's an opportunity for universities, not only here, but especially here, to collaborate with technology companies and digital transformation companies, startups, and so on, to enable that edutech, and to enable for people to study remotely. So that's one sort of thing. Now, who's going to be in control? A small startup company or a big established university that has the funds and the shareholders and so on. How do you strike having a seat on the table as somebody who is, as an entrepreneur of a small enterprise that actually gets acquired? That's something that always can get negotiated. But I think it's in the best interest of not only the small players and the SMEs, but also of the big players, because SMEs are innovating and are quicker to innovate and to turn things around because of the nature. Bigger corporations, or let's take a university, might have the bureaucracy and doesn't have the momentum to turn it around. It takes time. So having that mixture of mixed blood, the young blood, the flow of ideas and so on, would work well for both of them. So on the supply chain and so on, I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch, because with the globalization, you might have be offering something, packaging something in Jabal Ali that gets produced in China. It arrives to Jabal Ali to get packaged and then distributed to, let's say, Lebanon or Oman or India, right? So now with countries putting up their walls, sort of speak to just control the coronavirus and so on. These things stopped. So the packaging alone doesn't work without the actual product and so on. So will there be a movement towards having a little bit of local industry and so on? I think so.
Interesting.
And I definitely think so. But to which extent, we're going to have to see. But because of the sudden disruption of businesses overnight, a lot of us and a lot of business people out there are rethinking their business model of outsourcing, their business model of interdependency on others, and so on. And some people are saying, you know what? Why do we need offices anymore, right? And why do I need a team on my payroll all the time? Now I'm thinking I can do remote work. I don't need to be limited to the resources that are available locally in Dubai or the Emirates. I have resources that I can plug into as freelancers globally.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I want to go and touch on another topic, and this might be a segue into the coaching aspect of your business, and also some of the recognition that you've received, and I'll mention that. But on the kind of collaboration and strategy for the business, what do you think? Like in the past, we saw companies get really big and they own everything, and it's about dominance. It's about sort of eating up the small guy and stuff like that. But on another level, we're seeing global tech giants being both competitor and customer of each other. Whether there's such mergers and there's such crossover in services. There's cloud technologies. There's streaming. There's different types of products, hardware, software, all this sort of stuff. Do you think that that's kind of another part of the new norm, that it's now no longer about dominance, that you kind of, collaboration is almost part of a DNA of a modern company? And does that require a certain mindset to say, okay, I mightn't actually own everything there. I might have to JV, or I might have to partner or trust, and then leading into how do you kind of coach and train for that type of executive?
Okay, fantastic. I definitely, I believe so. I think the definition of what works, and that we have to be a monopoly and a giant in the business and to dominate over things has been changing. But now there's like the spotlight and the urgency for it to change. There's a fire for it to change. And I think we've been talking about agility for the last few years, and how to be nimble and agile as a business and as people and so on. And I think this is part of it. This is part of, we don't want to be the biggest. We want to be the most agile. We want to be the most forward thinking. We want to be the most anticipating, opportunistic, anticipating the future needs and actually jumping on that. So the conversation and the thought process has started before COVID, but I think now it's actually more on the table than ever. So definitely, collaboration is the name of the game, more so now than before. And how do we become agile? How do we make sure that we have the best working model with the least cost? Remember, that's why everybody outsourced to China in the first case, because of cost implications. So how do we become agile, but at the same time, we don't compromise on quality or on safety, on healthcare, on all of that, with collaborating with the right people. So I think there's going to be a new trend in where people are going to be thinking about different, also additional terms when they select partners. It used to be only like costs and synergies and so on, but I think there are new qualities and safety measures that are going to be looked into when we think about merging our operations with others, because that will directly affect your safety measures as well. So it's all a mindset that needs to be enabled very, very quickly. And the way we coach that, and the way that I do with my coaching client is, as you know, mindset is 80% of success. 80% of success is your mindset. 20% is strategy and tactics. So if if you don't have the right mindset, the right way of looking at things, to be able to see opportunities, to be able to problem solve the right thing at the right time, you will be left behind. And that's why you see different people react differently to the same situation. You and I might be looking at the same situation, and you look at it and you see opportunities for growth, and I'm looking at the same thing, and all I'm seeing is, oh my God, we're gonna die. Oh my God, we're gonna get out of business. So our mindset dictates a lot of how we think, what we do, and the decisions that we take. And that actually ends up, taking you either to a winning route or to not being around anymore.
Interesting. But is that how you go about, say, a couple of questions here, but, some of the kind of bigger strategy companies, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but some of the kind of listed ones, say that the big companies, they're known, their services are known in terms of their finance and their different consultancy, and they attract a certain type of a company. If I'm a smaller company, what's the kind of the entry point to working with Icon Group? And if it's something that I can tangibly understand, such as leadership or executive coaching, then is that an accessible point to working together? And then, alluding to what you mentioned about mindset, we hear of fixed and growth mindset a lot. Is that the sort of base? And is it black and white? Are you one or the other, or what do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry for all the questions at once. It's just there's plenty of things to talk about.
That's amazing. That's a lot of fun. It's never black and white, right? Mindset is the enabler for everything in life. And I'm a firm believer that there are things that that are in our control, and that's what differentiates. When you look at people around and we say, oh my God, you're successful by every standard, you check all the points and so on, or you're happy, or you got it together and so on. What makes people different is how you have been able to control your mindset, how you're able to master your own, leading yourself. Because we always talk about changing leaders, changing others, changing teams, changing companies. Change is always outside us, right? And it's easier to say, you know what, if you change this, you would become better. It's harder to have that conversation internally and to inflict that change internally. And I think that's why our clients coined this, success strategists phrase for us, because to enable success, you have to enable a certain mindset. You have to start looking at yourself and the world in a different lens, because when we go through life, we have inherited from our journey in this life, and we have picked up a lot of ideas, a lot of beliefs. A lot of them are limiting beliefs that don't serve us, a lot of ideas that actually sabotage us rather than empower us. And we seldom stop and think, it seems I have the same kind of pattern. I'm not getting the results that I want. How can I get over that? And, most of the time, we're the ones who are standing in our success's way, right? It's not the circumstances, it's not COVID. It's because we're approaching it from a completely different point of view than somebody with the right mindset, who's able to, with a growth mentality, who's able to say, you know what, I can do this. I can deal with this problem, and I know how to get out of it. You don't have to have everything figured out before you start, but we have to have a mindset where we can come to things, especially business, and say, I know that I've survived this long, okay? I have what it takes. Whatever comes my way, I'll figure it out. I'll problem solve it. I'll ask for help. It's not about ego. It's about the results that will end up happening. It's about making sure that I, look after my team, get the business results that I need. So enabling that mindset with executives helps them turn their businesses around, and helps them implement and execute the strategy that we end up putting with them to make sure that it goes forward. Other consulting firms come in and they actually have fantastic teams that come in and they write up the best strategy and so on, and they leave. We're only happy when we are with the clients and we make sure that they implement the strategy and see the results. And we're so committed to doing that we are happy to take part of our fees in a share of the results. Yeah, in profits. If you quadruple your profit, we will take a share of that, and so on, because we believe that success really is seeing them successful, not just writing them the strategy plan and saying thank you and adios and give us more fees. It's a different approach.
I can see how the coaching part came into your business as well as the strategy and the M&A as well. So it's interesting, different philosophy. Moving on to kind of women in business and leadership roles, I have a list of acknowledgements that you've received in front of me, and I'll read them out because I think I've noticed something interesting I just want to ask you about. So I don't mean to flatter you, but GCC Women Leaders Award in Leadership, named as Emirates Woman of the Year in 2016, winner of Emirates Executive Woman Award 2016, GCC Women Leadership Award 2017, Middle East Company of the Year for Icon 2019, Middle East Business Leaders of the Year in 2019. So first of all, how has your experience been as a female leading a company in this region over the last decade? And secondly, the awards, as I listed them out, changed from Women's Leadership Award to Business Persons Awards and Company Awards. Is that a trend? Is that a sign? Do you think we're kind of maturing into recognition, not just by gender, for females?
Absolutely, and I really believe that. I'm a big advocate of gender parity, but however, in the dialogue about empowering women and so on, whenever you call a group, whether it is an ethnic group or a gender group or whatever, once you do that, you're by definition separating them as singling them out as somebody else. So I'm all for having the conversation about including more women on the table, more women on boards and so on, but not only to women. And I think over the past 25 years, this has been one of my frustrations, is that whenever we preach about women, we always talk amongst ourselves, you're preaching to the preached. But I've seen a lot of evolution since I've been in Dubai with the role of women, with the seriousness of the leadership roles that have been taken. We went from having a token woman on board or a token somebody in your management to really looking at and measuring how women's contributions are done in businesses. And look around, we see ministers, we see a lot of women leading their family businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs who are leading very successful businesses as well. So in terms of contributing to the economy and so on, yes, and I'm very proud of this change that I was, at the beginning, I was only recognized as, the Woman of the Year or the Woman Entrepreneur and so on, to actually, the business person of the year and the company. So it's been amazing. when I started Icon 10 years ago, and I went to some of my friends, trusted friends and advisors, telling them about the idea, and leaving my job as Chief Operating Officer of Rasmala with a hefty package. They thought, you're going to start what? In a downturn? Are you nuts? One of the things that they advised me against was, you know what, it's not going to work. And I said, why not? And they said, because you're a woman and you're going to be employing very senior people who are men coming from, different parts of the seniority and different industries, and big egos, A-type personalities, and you're going to be, they're going to be listening to you. You're going to have a hard time with that. And that kind of was supposed to get me to, to step back and say, you know what, it's going to be an obstacle. For some reason, it did the reverse effect. I said, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's going to happen because, at that senior level and so on, I think we all come to it and we contribute directly. I've been blessed that, my partners don't look at it this way, and actually we contribute to each other's success. We have such a healthy relationship with that. But do we get the odd client that is not comfortable, directly negotiating with me a deal? You bet. Okay. And what happens there? I learned not to take it personally. When I feel that there's that dynamics, I pull out and I put one of the male partners in front of them, and he becomes the face of the deal, and they negotiate it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, how do you do the business? It's not about ego here, right? But it's been a learning process, but I see a lot of change, and I'm really happy about it.
Interesting. Yeah, because it's obvious that there aren't as many female leaders in business, in the corporate world, in any region, and even on this podcast, it's for C-suites or founders, and we struggle to find many. Not that we struggle, but there's definitely less. I just, so that's kind of a given. It's true and it's changing. But in terms of mindset, do you think sometimes, not just in gender, but do you think sometimes people feel as if setbacks are because of something, and it's almost a negative, that they say, I didn't get this because I'm, whether it's tall, small, or whatever. Do you think that that's part of it, or do you think that that people who could achieve more, irrespective of who or what they are or where they're from, with the right mindset?
You're talking about women in specific?
Well, but I didn't want to be so specific, but yeah.
Fine. No, I totally agree with you. I think what we, my observation, including myself, we tend to think that we are not prepared enough. Okay. So we if I go back to my Citibank days and so on, I would be at par with my male colleagues, and we're like working hard. I would work much harder and so on. He would think that he earns the promotion way, earlier than I do. And he has no qualms about, making the mistakes and actually asking for a promotion, where I struggled by saying, no, let me just do more, let me learn more, get trained more, prepare more, before I work up my courage to say, now I'm ready to ask for my promotion. So I think, I find that with a lot of women, that we keep thinking that we're not there yet. Let me just polish this kind of skill. Let me do that a bit more, and so on, because we culturally, we've grown up to take the indications of how good we are, or our self-esteem and so on, externally. So we don't live it from inside out. So if I'm gonna be looking at Rich and say, okay, he's not smiling, so maybe I'm not saying what he wants me to say, or maybe I'm messing up here and so on. So I'm getting my cues from people around me, and as long as you continue to do that, you will always feel that you're not good enough, or you're not ready enough, and so on. But really, entrepreneurship and life, it's all about a leap of faith. You work hard, you get ready, and then you have to jump, and you have to take that leap of faith, and nobody's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I love that. There's a lot of value in it. In terms of culture and the organizations that you work with and the people that you coach, what do you do when you recognize whatever signals you receive, whether it's from the CEO or from some of the team that you're working with, that there might be a toxic culture in the company, there mightn't be a kind of an environment where people are empowered and are encouraged to believe in themselves? How do you kind of tackle that, or do you kind of do you get involved?
I call it as it is, because once I'm hired as their coach, it's my responsibility to to help them see what I see, because they bring me in for a perspective and for guidance. And a lot of times I'm hired by the CEO, okay, to coach their team because he's having a problem with some of his team, right? And once I start coaching their team, I found that a lot of the problem is from him, okay? Because he doesn't delegate, he doesn't like to give away control, doesn't like to give out power, or see, the thing with successful people, very successful people and established people, is they fall into what I call their own success trap, because all of us learn that our own formula for success, that this is what I did to get me here, so if I continue to do that, it means I will remain successful. But really, every chapter of our life, every new new thing that we have to do requires a different mindset, a different skill set, and so on. And what brought you here, what got you here, is not necessarily the same thing that will get you further. So I've been in situations where I was hired to guide the direct reports, let's say, of a CEO, and I found out that he's the one really that needs coaching, right? But of course, egos here play a big part, and you have to know how to tackle it, because the end result is not just to hit people. You want people to realize what is happening for themselves, because that's the only way that they will make the change, because you won't be able to make it for them. You want the awareness to click. So, in these situations, it will be an indirect. I would be sitting down with the CEO and feeding the input for him about the team, and I would tell him my personal findings. And I say, whenever there's a pattern like this in a company, it means it's from the head, and when the fish stinks, it stinks from the head. So if you want change, you're accountable for that. And to their credit, it's now there's an acceptance of coaching as a very senior level. Before, people found it, especially people in C-level positions, found it very tough to accept that they needed coaching, or to admit that they had a coach. And until now, I have many people who prefer to come to my office because of the privacy of that situation, rather than me being seen to go to their office.
Interesting.
And I respect that. But you know what? We all need guidance, and we all need coaches, because having that, friend neutral advice and extra pair of, eyes is always beneficial.
Amazing. Really strong point to leave it on. That flew by. Thank you very much for your time. And I think, what you mentioned at the end is how you started, in terms of there's no real playbook for the current pandemic we're in. It's another one of those challenges. And if we don't adapt, and if we don't approach it and accept that we have to learn, then it's going to be difficult for everyone. But Salma, really thank you for your time this afternoon. And hopefully we'll keep in touch in the future.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.